Hi, this is Dodger, and you're watching my show.
Three, two, one, ready, go!
I was gone for a couple of weeks, and it turned out that no one could do replacement news episodes, so I'm sorry that we went dark there for a little bit. I was doing Thanksgiving, and I was filming a thing in Tejas. We did all sorts of stuff, so yeah, cool stuff coming down the pipe, but I am sorry that we didn't have news for a couple of weeks. Fortunately, lots of stuff happened at the Video Game Awards last night, so we got plenty to talk about. However, first, I need to talk about something very serious. Samurai Jack is totally coming back next year, and I'm so excited. I'm realizing that some of you that are watching this right now might never have seen Samurai Jack, and that just, oh my goodness, that breaks my heart. Although, at the same time, that means that you now get to go and experience Samurai Jack for the first time. You lucky ducks. Samurai Jack was a show that was on, I think, when I was in high school. I'm trying to remember when it aired originally. It was on Toonami. It was a Cartoon Network show. And it was so cool. It was like a samurai story, but mixed with sci-fi. Oh, it was amazing. It was so good. And people have been asking for it to continue for a really long time now, but it hit that threshold, you know? It hit that point where it had been so long that everyone was like, all right, that's obviously not going to continue, right? Everybody was asking for Invader Zim to continue for the longest time, and then we reached this point where we were like, all right, obviously this isn't going to happen. And now they've, been making the comic books and everything, so that's fine on that front. But Samurai Jack was one that just kind of got slipped under a rug somewhere. And now it's been found! They had cleaners come over and lift up the rug, and they're like, oh, what's this sweet gem? We only have official posters right now, but it does say coming in 2016. We don't know when in 2016. We have very little information. But Samurai Jack's so good that I don't even care. When it happens, I'll be there. I will be a supporting mom. Speaking of things coming back, Psychonauts 2 was announced last night. It was just, no one saw it coming at all, because at the Video Game Awards, they, in between awards, will do either music stuff or show a trailer, right? And they had a couple of world premieres that we'll talk about as we continue on with the show, but the one that I think everyone is most excited about is Psychonauts 2. Actually, Danny, Oriozima, who does all of my little animations and stuff, like the intro for this show, he is the biggest Psychonauts fan that I've ever met in my life, and he immediately messaged me and was like, did you see all of my dreams and hopes realized in my darkest hour? And I was like, I did, Danny. But I think pretty much everybody who saw the trailer was sitting there going, all right, Tim Schafer, come out and tell us how you're crowdfunding this one. And it is being crowdfunded. It's going to be through Fig, which we've talked about a little bit before, I think, or maybe I've only talked about it on Daily Bite. But Fig is a crowdfunding website that also allows you to invest in a game. So I think Psychonauts 2 is going to be the first one that allows just any old yahoo in the world to invest in the game. And they've got a little dial on there. I looked into it. I went on there because I was like, I wonder how the investing process works. And they've got a whole big write-up that kind of helps you along with the process. But they've also made a thing that breaks down the amount of money that you're expected to make if you donate a certain amount and then the game does breaks even or does really well. There's a little slider, so you can slide it up to it does incredibly well, makes so many of the dollars, in which case you wind up making way more money, right? So it's interesting. Fig is an interesting concept, and I think people have been waiting for the opportunity, not the opportunity, but sort of the proof of concept in terms of just anybody being able to invest in a game, because that was their big pitch. So Psychonauts 2 is the first one that will allow you to do that. You can do it now if you want. They're at over $1 million, and they're asking for 3.5, I believe. Let me double check that. Oh, 3.3. They're asking for 3.3. Now, some people are saying, well, the last time that they did a crowdfunded thing, that was a big old cluster, right? Because they asked for a certain amount of money, way more than they needed, and then ran out of money halfway through the process, and everyone was like, wait, but you got way more money out of us than you said you needed, so what happened to all of that? Did you just mismanage it? Did you add too many random things to the game, right? So having them do crowdfunding again, I think has people a little bit nervous. But here's my argument on that point, is that they've made a lot of mistakes before. And if they're a company that's willing to learn from their mistakes and say, all right, last time we did a big crowdfunding thing, we were dumb. We did some really, really dumb stuff. Let's not do that again. This might actually be the safest company to give your money to, because they have made all of those mistakes before. And so now that they've been through it, they can come at it from another angle. And also the fact that it's a sequel, right? It's Psychonauts 2. So they can't do a lot of the things, they can't make a lot of the same mistakes that you could make if you were starting from scratch with something, because nobody has any expectations. People have expectations in terms of the design, the story, the gameplay, right? For Psychonauts 2. So they can't mess with that too much. Anyway, as a person who has still never played Psychonauts, I'm still delighted for all of my friends and family members who really, really loved the first one and are jazzed for the sequel. And also people that I know who have played Psychonauts recently for the first time, like people who were like me and just never played it and have played it in the last year or so, have been like, God, it's like one of the best games I've ever played. So obviously I need to sit down and just play it, right? Like obviously I need to just take a hot minute, and play me some Psychonauts one time. The Smash community has been in a bit of disarray for a while now after Project M developers decided they were going to stop the process on the project altogether. Now, Project M, for those of you who aren't involved in the Smash community at all, is a fan-done development process to make Smash Bros. Brawl for the Wii into a game that is more similar with Smash Bros. Melee, because a lot of people believe that that was a far better competitive version of the game. It's been going on for a while now. It's entirely like young adults and student developers who have been doing it. They've never run into legal trouble, fortunately, but now they've decided to close their doors and haven't been super open with why. So, what's going on? Obviously, the internet is exploding with conspiracy theories, right? There are just people all over the place like, well, I bet, Nintendo was threatening them, right? I bet that's what was happening. The story that's coming up a lot is that the development team got word that the next time they released a patch, Nintendo was going to come down on them hard. They were getting lots of messages from people saying, look, Nintendo has finally, I think, reached the point where they're not okay with you guys doing this anymore. So the next time you release a patch, they're gonna come down on you really hard. Just straight up sue you without a cease and desist. And again, these are all young people. These are all young developers, young students, and they don't have the money to go against Nintendo in court. To be straight up sued by Nintendo, that's terrifying. And again, we don't know that this is for sure. We have no idea what's actually going on. And that's not because they're legally in a situation where they can't say anything. It's because they just don't want to. They're staying silent of their own accord. Now, a whole new team that's calling themselves Evolution has decided to try and pick up where the Project M team left off, which I think has made a lot of people really nervous. They're like, oh gosh, guys, if we're gonna end this and just let it, exist in the world as a thing that happened that was super cool, we need to just leave it, because now we're playing with fire, right? Having a whole new group of people try again is not gonna go well. I mean, okay, look, if you were to go against Nintendo with something like Project M and they wanted to sue you, they would win. Not because they can afford the best lawyers or anything, which, I mean, they can, but I don't think that would be the reason. The reason would be you're using their intellectual property to make a thing, right? So if they came at you, they would win, obviously. And if I was on that team and I sat down with a few people who really knew the law and said, all right, how screwed are we if Nintendo comes at us? How much money do you think we're gonna be sued for if we put out this next patch? And I was told, oh, it's probably going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars at least. I would just be like, all right, you know what? This was a super cool project. We did it for a long time. I don't know how we got away with it as long as we did. The community's fantastic. Let's just end on a high note. Again, I know I've said this a few times, but I just want to reiterate, this is all speculation, right? This is all based off of sort of little bits and pieces of things that the developers have said and what other people have tried to piece together. So we don't know for sure that that's the reason why, but that's what makes the most sense, and that's what's being circulated the most. So either way, I think you guys did a fantastic job. Like, my goodness, you kept that thing going for so long. Props. If you are super creeped out by mannequins and playing Fallout 4 has just been the worst, there is a mod for you. Someone made a mod that will turn mannequins into flamingos. And they straight up look like they are in the same world. Like, they're really good. They don't stand out at all, aside from the fact that they're flamingos. And, like, the mannequins stood out pretty well already. But yeah, a lot of people either hate the mannequins because they wind up shooting them and then realizing, oh, that's a mannequin. Oh, and now I shot a thing, so everybody else in this building heard me, and now everybody's gonna come at me, right? Either that, or just, wow, I hate mannequins, and my god, they're everywhere in this game. If that's a thing that you're interested in, I will link you in the description. I almost fell over just then, but I caught myself. To fans of episodic story games, or more specifically, anybody who really loves the Telltale games, there was yet another world premiere announcement and trailer that happened at the Game Awards show yesterday, and it was for a Batman Telltale game. As we all know, all of their best story games have been based off of comic books. It's allowed them to use a very specific art style, and even like the Borderlands one, right? Like, the art style of Borderlands synced up really well with what they do, so that was perfectly fine. The trailer looked cool. We haven't seen anything that, represents what the actual game will look like, but we can probably speculate. Again, because they've done so many of these games at this point, we can be like, yes, I think I know what to expect here. But my question is, are people starting to get kind of sick of the Telltale story games, right? Like, I think one of the reasons why Life is Strange did so well was because it took elements of what Telltale does and then added a bunch more to it, right? It felt like it was coming from someone new. And what I mean by that is not in the very obvious sense of, yeah, it was a completely different development studio, Dodger, so duh. I mean, like, every Telltale game now, all of these story-based Telltale games, they really do feel like the exact same person or people are making it, right? There isn't anything fresh feeling. Life is Strange felt very fresh. And so I'm wondering if we've hit a point yet, or if we're about to, where playing a Telltale game isn't going to feel exciting or new anymore. It's going to feel formulaic. I'll still play it. I love me some Batman stuff. The Arkham Knight, Arkham City games in general were not really my bag. I know. What? Who am I? They weren't really for me. I played a little bit of each of them and then was like, all right, I'm good, I think. Something like this, I'll probably play all the way through, especially since they tend to be very short. But I don't expect myself to play it and go, wow, that was a great gaming experience, because I've had this same experience a few times now. Either way, go and watch the trailer. I'll link it in the description. It doesn't show you anything, like I said. It's just kind of like an aesthetic concept more than anything, which I'm totally cool with. So we'll see how that goes. So last night at the Video Game Awards show, we got some new Konami terribleness. Jeff Keighley was the host, and once we hit the Action/Adventure Award, Kiefer Sutherland came and grabbed the award, and Jeff Keighley took a second to say, you know what? Kojima was supposed to be here. He was supposed to be the one to grab this award. He was all ready to do it. He was gonna come, participate in an awards show with his peers, and it turned out that Konami came down on him with lawyers and said, no, you can't go to that. And Jeff Keighley up on stage was like, this is what Konami did. Kojima was supposed to be here. That's messed up. And the whole crowd was like, boo! It was incredible. I will never get how Konami continues to misunderstand us, and also just how the community and the internet works nowadays. Like, the fact that when you do something shady like that, literally everybody is suddenly gonna know. Within a span of like an hour, right? Like, everybody knows that you did this thing. and we're not gonna forget about it. Like, there are some things where you can say, the internet will forget about that tomorrow, right? There will be the new hotness that happens that grabs everybody's attention, and sure, that has happened a little bit with Konami, but at this point, so much is stacked up, right? So much has happened with this Kojima thing that we're never gonna forget this. Like, this rift between Konami and its fan base just continues to swell, and I wonder how soon until they feel the repercussions of that. So newsflash, Konami is still the worst. I know you're all shocked. You're all just, man, taking my breath away, right? But Kojima, I'm so sad that you weren't able to be there and grab the award for Metal Gear Solid 5. I'm sure, I was talking about it with Octopimp, and he was saying, you know, it's probably Konami continuing in their efforts to distance Kojima from Metal Gear. Still so dumb, the way that they went about doing that. Still so just tone deaf to this entire situation and what's going to make it worse versus what's going to actually make it go away, right? Yeah, if you want to see that happen, I'm sure by now there's a highlight clip somewhere on the internet, and I will go looking for it. But that's been my show, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to leave a positive or a negative response, feel free to do so in my comment section. And if you would like to have coffee with me, you can click wherever I put the annotation, and it'll take you to my other channel. But otherwise, I hope that you have had a fantastic week. I hope you have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you again next time. All right? Bye-bye. Mwah.
Go.
So duh.